Let's start with this. We have a Gemara. And the Gemara, we have a piece of Talmud which says that man was born to toil. Okay, that's what it says. It says that there's another piece of this Talmud which says that there are various forms of this toil. One is speech, one is action, and one is a different, level of speech, which we'll come to in a second. But man is born to toil. In other words, and how do we know that? We know that from this week's Sedra, where when Avram Avinu was told to go to Eretz Canaan, later when Hashem told him he was going to Eretz Canaan, we have a famous midrash where Avram Avinu is walking through the fields of his hometown, of his home country, and he sees people eating and drinking and having a good time, and he says to Hashem, I don't want to cast my lot with these people. And when he comes to Eretz Canaan and he sees people working the fields and busy with industriousness, he says, I want to cast my lot with these people. And we learn in Chassidus that you are being introduced to deep code here, that the issue is, do you spend your 60, 70, 120 years trying to find as little pain as possible, as much pleasure as possible, and live in a gated community, play golf every day and bridge in the afternoon, and never have any financial trouble, and that sounds great. And let's give each other a brocker that we could all afford that, and constantly afford that, but it is definitely wrong. Not, how do we know it's wrong? Avram Avinu said, I don't want to cast my lot with this. Why is it wrong? Now let's try and understand this. It's wrong because it doesn't work. At the end of the day, I've had a legal practice for 57 years. I've acted for some of the richest Jews in Sydney over the years. And I can tell you that all of those people who thought that their salvation came with money are bitterly disappointed at my age. They're on their second or third marriage with their second or third girlfriend. Their children are either on drugs or sitting at home paralyzed with anxieties of various kinds. Not all of them, but the solution to their life, which they thought was the pathway, isn't. And it's demonstrably not. And on the other hand, you have people who have followed the pathways of learning in Chassidus, whose lives are fruitful, and I'm not saying they're not difficult. I had a teacher once who told me that life gets harder as you get older, but it gets better if you know how to live it. So, and it's a very important word. It's a very important concept, and that concept is beginning to develop in Parsha's LECH-LECHA. We'll see how in a minute. And this issue of being born to toil is discussed a lot by the commentators, because the first question is why? Hashem's created the world, we're all agreed, and if he's created the world, we accept that he's created a man as born to toil. The Gemara explains this. The Gemara says a man is more satisfied with one carve of his achievement than 9 calves of somebody else's donation. In other words, if you achieve through your own efforts, you are more gratified than if you pick it up for free. Industry is more rewarding than just being given it on a plate. So that's one answer, but there's an objection to that. The commentators all ask the same objection, but okay, you tell me that man doesn't like living on handouts, but Hashem is all-powerful. He could have done whatever he wanted. He could have created man not to prefer living on achievement. He could have made man perfectly happy with handouts. So that doesn't answer the question. So the Rebbe explains in Maimorim based on the Maimor that we're learning together at the moment, which is from the Alter Rebbe in Torah Oya, that it's much more, the answer is, why didn't God create the world that way? He could have. And the first answer that anybody of any intelligence who learns Torah has to be able to come to is, if Hashem didn't do it that way, it's because this way is better. You have to get to the basic beginning point, if you want to understand any Hasidus at all, is that the world must be, by definition, absolutely perfect. Otherwise Hashem could have, because Hashem's perfect. And if Hashem creates the world, he creates it perfect. That doesn't mean that there isn't work to be done in the world. That doesn't mean that we're going to learn in a minute that we need to be partners in creation. And that has a concept of tikkun, that has a concept of fixing things. But Hashem has made the world according to a model and a plan, and it's rolled out in a way that is perfect. And that is perfect in every one of those zillions of variables and combinations that we were talking about. For example, it's perfect for you, it's perfect for me, it's perfect for my wife, it's perfect for the children. They don't see it. So you got to teach, you got to learn. You got to learn and you got to teach. But it is absolutely perfect. I've told this story before, or maybe I haven't told it in the Shir, maybe it was in a Fabringa, but I was in Melbourne once, about 5-6 years ago, and I had a guy who started about the same time as me, 50 years ago, neither of us knowing what Yom Kippur was. He stayed in Melbourne. I was in Melbourne at a Yarkei Colour, a sort of Torah thing for the weekend, just trying to test the waters. And I met him there and we became friends. He was a lawyer and we had quite a lot in common, and we remained friends over the years. So about 5 years ago when I was in Melbourne, we were sitting next to each other at a Fabringa, and I was still saying L'chaim in those days. The doctor hadn't warned me off the whiskey, and I was saying L'chaim and he was saying L'chaim, and we were getting very happy together. And he put his arm around me and he said, I'm going to share a secret with you. He said, I want to share a personal understanding of what Yeridat Tzorek Aliyah means, that descent is for the purpose of ascent. He said,